Today we are going to learn about features of an organism and classification. Okay, so how do scientists classify millions of organisms on Earth? And what make an organism a plant, animal, or something else entirely? So in this video, we'll break down the features of organisms and how they are classified into different kingdoms. Okay, so let's start with the five kingdoms. So all living organisms are classified into five main kingdoms, right? So there are animals, plants, fungus, prokaryote, and protist, right? So this classification is based on features of their cells, right? So the classification is based on their features of the cell. For example, you can take animal cell, right? They do not have a cell wall or chlorophyll, right? So you can check the animal cell and plant cell. The animal cell do not have a cell wall or it do not contain chlorophyll. But what about plant cell? They have a cell wall and they contain chlorophyll, right? So these differences help scientists to group organisms correctly. So you can easily identify which one is a plant cell and which one is an animal cell. Like this, there are a lot of differences in these groups, right? So this will help the scientists to classify them properly in different categories. Okay, now let's check what are the key features of classification. Okay, what are the key features used in classification? First thing is cytoplasm. So basically, this is the jelly-like material inside the cell where a chemical reaction occurs. So it's a jelly-like substance where the chemical reactions occur, right? And it contains important structures called organelle. So all the organelles in this cell will be placed in the cytoplasm. Okay, like nucleus, ribosomes, mitochondria, etc. Right. Then we have the cell membrane. So a thin outlayer that surrounds the cell. It controls what enters and leaves the cell. So what is the function of cell membrane? It will be the surrounding wall, right? It will be surrounding the cell and it also controls the movement of substances in and out. And what is DNA? So that is the genetic material, right? Found in the nucleus. And it contains the instruction for making proteins. So codes for proteins. Next, we have the ribosomes. What are ribosomes? These are the sites of protein synthesis, right? And we have the enzymes. What are enzymes? They are the catalyst chemical reaction, right? They catalyze the chemical reaction. So enzymes are biological catalysts. They speed up chemical reactions in the cell, such as respiration. Okay. Now let's see how can we classify the animal kingdom. Okay. So in animal kingdom, within the animal kingdom, organisms are further divided into two major groups. Okay. So that are vertebrates and arthropods. Okay. So let's start with the vertebrates. So what are vertebrates? Animals that have a backbone. Okay. So animals with the backbone are called the vertebrates. And these include the mammals, birds, reptiles, amphibians, and fishes. Okay. And who are arthropods? These animals do not have a backbone. Okay. And what do they have? They have an exoskeleton and segmented body. And they include myriapods, insect, archers, and crustaceans. Okay. Now we have the plant kingdom. How will you classify plant kingdom? So we can divide it into flowering and non-flowering plants, right? So let's start with the flowering plants. So the plant kingdom is also divided into groups like we mentioned. We will start with the flowering plants. So what are flowering plants? So the plants that create flowers, right? And these are split into two categories, like cotyledons and monocotyledons, right? So they are mainly identified by the structure of their leaves. Okay, they are mainly identified the leaf structure. And what about non-flowering plants? Like ferns will be there, right? So these plants do not produce seeds. Instead, they reproduce using spores. So usually in flowering plants, how do they reproduce? They will have a male and female flower, and there will be like the anther and the ovule, everything is there, right? So that is how they reproduce through seed formation, germination, etc. In non-flowering plants, they use spores. Okay. And now we have the viruses. So viruses are not classified as living organism. Okay. So they are not classified as a living organism because they cannot carry out life processes independently. Right. So they are non-cellular. They don't have a proper cell and made of genetic material surrounded by a protein block. Okay. So classification helps scientists to organize living organism based on their cell structure and features. Right. So understanding these differences make it easier to study the diversity of life on Earth. I hope this video helped you.